Hey friends. So obviously I took a break from the mixtape project last week, and I'll talk more about why at the end of this week's playlist. Getting back into it this week, I'm going with a pretty harmless theme of some highlights from my vinyl collection. If you follow me on socials, you probably saw that I got myself a birthday present of a fairly entry-level vinyl setup. I'm currently running with an Audio-Technica AT-LP60X turntable and some Edifier powered bookshelf speakers, and I've grown my vinyl collection to about 29 records now, which I only know because the business analyst in me had to make a spreadsheet tracking all of my vinyl, their release dates and genres, from where they were purchased, for how much, the dates they were purchased versus the dates they arrived in the mail, etc, etc, etc. I keep these running totals of how much I've spent on records, on the setup, the artists, and the number of each one's albums I own. I kind of like putting some order to the madness, as well as being confronted with the completely unreasonable amount I've spent on it all. If you're curious, the place I purchased the most albums from is Discogs, which is probably the most established online marketplace for records, but I've also visited some brick and mortar shops and even purchased from the vinyl section at Barnes & Noble and Target. The only artists for whom I own more than one album are Sufjan Stevens and The Roots, 2 each. I'm still waiting on my pre-ordered copy of the Cowboy Bebop soundtrack, and I will not be sharing how much I have spent on all this. I would be absolutely ruined by such a scandal. Another section I have on this spreadsheet is just a little notes column where I would write my thoughts on the albums I bought, and that column was sort of the prototype for this project, where I first started indulging myself in writing about music. This long-winded introduction is all just to talk about one of the few hobbies I've picked up during this bizarre season, something I'd like to share this week on the mixtape. I've picked just 6 of my favorite songs from this rather vast library, and I hope you'll enjoy the variance of what I've come up with here. As I've mentioned before, the best part of listening to vinyl, besides being able to physically own a piece of music, is just how it forces you to listen to albums as a collective whole. Throughout this mixtape, you'll hear me frequently recommend the rest of these albums, probably just because that's how I've been enjoying them myself. Anyway, to avoid further rambling, I'd like to get into it. As always, I really appreciate you guys hanging out and enjoying some music with me. I hope this starts off your week well.